The following program is a special presentation of the Big Ten Network, produced in association with the University of Wisconsin.
It's Saturday in the fall, it's Friday and Saturday night during hockey season, it's midweek during basketball season. It fills the air. It's part of every event on campus. It's a piece of history, and it's handed down from class to class to class. It's a classic. It's tradition, and it's an honorable part of this institution.
W.T. Purdy, William Purdy, was a composer who was writing the song to submit it to the University of Minnesota. Carl Beck, who's a loyal alumnus, comes to his room and says, "No, Bill, this should be for us, Wisconsin." He says, "You can, right away," Beck says, those first four words say, "On Wisconsin." And Beck did write the final words. He sent it up here, and it became an instant favorite. I guess the night before the homecoming game, they played it, and every source I've ever said it was an absolute huge hit by the students who hadn't had a fight song up to that point as such.
It's absolutely a classic march of the university identity genre. Again, it's part of a much, much larger repertory of marches that became popular after the Civil War, and in particular, marches that were about creating a kind of community.
There was a great rumor about the fact that the On Wisconsin at one point belonged to Paul McCartney, who ultimately sold a catalog to Michael Jackson. I think there was probably a brief instant where that was true. Before it went into the public domain, by all the research I've done, On Wisconsin, under the Paul McCartney agreement, that was maybe only under his royalty for maybe about a year at the most, and then it went public domain.
If it had ended up in Minnesota's hands, maybe I'd be playing there. It's that good of a song.
You know, Minnesota, it just doesn't work.
The rightful owner has been able to enjoy this for the last 100 years. You know, it wouldn't have been right.
I think about that sometimes, if, you know, what it would sound like hearing On Minnesota or whatever they would have had the words, and it just doesn't have the same ring. It doesn't bring a smile to my face.
It's known all around the state. You know, there are different words for it. The official state song is On Wisconsin, which didn't occur until I think the late 1940s, actually.
The band not only can sing On Wisconsin lyrics, but they can sing the lyrics that are the official state song lyrics.
I think it speaks to the whole state. I'm particularly aware of the fact that other people who aren't from Madison really hear that music and hear in it kind of a shared citizenship.
Everyone knows the tune On Wisconsin, even outside the state of Wisconsin.
My wife and I were in London. This was several years ago, and we walked into our hotel, we checked in, we went into the lobby bar. There was a piano player in there. The place was jammed. I wasn't 5 steps into the bar looking for a place to sit down, and all of a sudden I hear the piano player goes right into On Wisconsin.
I love the kind of layers of connection there, that it can mean belonging to the university, it can mean belonging to the city, it can be belonging to the entire state.
When we play On Wisconsin in Lambeau Stadium, there's a moment there that you can just almost sense the band lift off the ground, because that is such a pro-Wisconsin crowd that when we play it, there's just an elevation that the band gets, and it's like no response we get.
Right on through that line, run the ball, play down the field. Boys, touchdown short this time. I said, yeah. Fight on for our fame, fellas fight, yeah I fight, and we'll win up in this game. You better know I was so fresh, man, when I first stepped up on campus, rocking red from toe to hand, Badger pride, running rampant, and you know I was so major ever since I chose my major.
This program is a production of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. If you have comments about this broadcast, please email us at programming@uc.wisc.edu.
Own a piece of Badger history and support UW-Madison when you proudly wear the official red shirt. This year's design celebrates 100 years of On Wisconsin. Proceeds from sales go to help support students through financial aid. For more information, check out uwalumni.com.
Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, plunge right through that line. Run the ball clear down, the field boys touchdown, sure this time.
On Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, fight on for her fame. Fight, fellas, fight, fight, fight. We'll win this game. Badgers!
A lot of people forget that On Wisconsin was originally written as a march, it has an introduction, it has a first strain, a second strain, and then it's the trio, which is the chorus, which is the song that we know, and then it has a little break strain. So it falls into the traditional pattern of a great Sousa march, and Sousa himself called it, one of the finest of all college marching songs.
It moves people because it's a march, and it's a classic march in that it keeps us going in duple time, it keeps us walking, it keeps us marching. But I think also that it has this classic hook, the On Wisconsin, that it has music that fits so well with the text.
It starts out on Wisconsin, and then you hear this big counter melody coming up, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-dum. And so it drives it, it's just dynamic, it's a great undertone, and it really fills in this sound.
What is interesting about On Wisconsin is right at the beginning, there's a hook that is really different from anything else where you have the on Wisconsin, on Wisconsin. There's just something quite different about that very little snippet of the tune.
It's got that little first four-note interchange, da, 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 da. It's a very simple thing. It's an interchange there that has been used by countless composers. I mean, you can hear it in all sorts of classical pieces. It's present in Phantom of the Opera, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
On Wisconsin is really a big brass piece, and Mike Leckrone really features those brass lines. If you watch the run-on come out of the tunnel, he leads with the percussion, which drives the engine. And then he starts out with the brass, and so you'll see the trumpets and the trombones. The woodwinds come in a little later. And if you look at a drum corps, that's brass straight across. And so it's that strong, bold sound. But with the addition of the woodwinds, it adds a softer element, but a sharp, crisp element. And so it's a wonderful complement, and Mike Leckrone was really quite masterful at blending the two disciplines. And what you get is a uniquely Wisconsin sound.
I know if you would say that to someone from Michigan, they would say, oh no, this is the greatest fight song. It's great simplicity, but sometimes I think the slight complexity of On Wisconsin is what makes it work so well. There's that nice compositional structure to it, and as a musician, I look at that and say, well, that's a really good song. It's just not something that we get stirred up about when we hear it play in the stadium.
For me, as a music historian, I can't help but hear it in this larger context, like I said, of John Philip Sousa, of the post-Civil War march, where there are all these other marches that are about creating a kind of identity. If you think of the United States with the Civil War, which was so important for keeping marches alive, where oftentimes you were fighting over shared space, or who does this land belong to. I think in many ways a Civil War is not unlike a football field, where you're both sharing the space and having to kind of trade it back and forth.
On Wisconsin is a tune that has been around for about 100 years by now, but there's doesn't seem to be any sort of arrangement for choir, especially a choir a cappella. So what I have done for this very occasion is actually write an arrangement that is pretty close to what you would usually hear being performed by a band, except it's for choir, just for voices alone and without any instrument at all.
On Wisconsin, plunge right through that mountain. Run the ball clear down the field, the touchdown sure this time. On Wisconsin, fight on border gray. Colors fly and we will win this game. Wisconsin.
We want to hear your Badger rendition of On Wisconsin. Gather your friends and share your musical talents online. Did we mention there are prizes? For more information, visit onwisconsin.wisc.edu for contest details and links to all the video you've seen during this program.
You have 80,000 people in Camp Randall Stadium or 17,000 people at the Kohl Center. When you hear On Wisconsin, you just have the feeling that something big is about to happen.
You feel it start from your head to your toes. You get excited. I mean, before we'd even run out, you just start to jump, and then it starts to build, and then you get to come out on the floor and you get to hear people sing and see the band march and move around and play to the music. It's just an enthusiasm you don't get unless you experience it.
When I hear On Wisconsin in the stands, especially when I'm watching my son and daughter play here as student athletes, you know, it does bring back some great feelings of being connected to the university and seeing my kids now performing out on their athletic fields and creating their legacy here at the university.
On Wisconsin is such a special song for us as volleyball players. You'd hear all the fans out there, but then the band would start playing On Wisconsin, and all the fans would stand up, and we'd run out and do kind of a lap around, and all the fans would cheer. And you know, that was just always when you get the pregame goosebumps and just like, okay, this is why I came to Wisconsin.
I believe we're at Century Plaza, and to walk out there and see 3 levels of people in a semicircle, I don't know how many thousands there for the band was playing, cheerleaders, for a little rally. And there was a time when we walked in, they played On Wisconsin. It was, I mean, my players' eyes were this big around.
You know, introducing the band as Bucky is probably a rush the first time you do it. It's more like a panic attack, being all the anxiety of doing it. But, you know, you do it once and then you get out in the middle of the field and you realize that, I mean, you're a part of it. As Bucky Badger, you represent the whole university and the whole entire state of Wisconsin. I think that's truly what On Wisconsin is about, is, you know, how much pride we have in ourselves, and we want everyone to know it. And I think it does a great job of that.
When they come out of the tunnel, either here in the Kohl Center or at Camp Randall, wherever, and they hear the band playing On Wisconsin, and they hear the Badger fans feed off of that, it's a domino effect.
You have the band playing. You are on top of each other. They're on the floor. The fans become one with the players. All of a sudden, everybody, including the band, became a part of your team, and everybody was pulling for you, supporting you, and it just made it so much more special.
You don't really understand the importance and the connection until you've experienced it. The connection with the fight song and the fans, and what effect it has on the players, and you can see the energy level pick up. Playing a fight song kind of gives you that extra boost to push to the finish.
The crowd gets onto it. The you-rah-rah is so important to it. On Wisconsin just really fits with the Wisconsin personality in terms of, you know, having fun, and, you know, we're here to compete and win.
those players on the other team see this reaction, see this excitement, and it makes it harder. It does make it harder to play against after that song is played.
It's a great energizer. People love to hear it.
As Bucky, there was times when I was just drained. And once that song is played, you know, it's kind of that feeling of a march, just kind of that up and down, gets you moving forward, gives you a pulse, and it really gets you excited again and brings back the life to the event.
A lot of folks, when Wisconsin went to the Rose Bowl and won it in '94, when they heard the band play that song in the stadium, when out of 100,000 fans who were there, 70,000 were Wisconsin fans, when you heard the song played there, that's when it felt like, to a lot of fans, that this whole deal has gone national, if not beyond. That day, we're telling you UCLA, we're telling you everybody else, Ohio State, Michigan, and all of your, all your tradition, that there's something going on here too. And this song is a big part of it. So listen in and enjoy.
This program is a production of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. If you have comments about this broadcast, please email us at programming@uc.wisc.edu.
On Wisconsin, plunge right through that line. Wisconsin, plunge right the bugs are down, the field boys touchdown, scores their time. You was right, plunge right, Wisconsin, you was right.
On Wisconsin, Wisconsin, fight on for her fame. Fight, fellows, fight, we'll win this game.
If you see a couple band members who may not have even worked in the same band, maybe generation or so apart. I mean, one of them will almost go da 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 da, and the other one will answer the phrase da 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 da, and you can almost hear them go back and forth, and they have that instant bond.
My grandmother, who grew up in Madison and lived on Allen Street, taught me to sing it when I was just a little kid, almost probably as soon as I could walk, because she wanted all of the children in the family to go to Wisconsin. I'm actually the fourth generation of the family to graduate from here, and we have 3 children that are 5th generation.
Well, anytime you hear On Wisconsin, it brings back great memories. The fact that growing up as a kid, I hung out at Camp Randall in the field house, and there's some great times there as a little kid, and anytime you get a chance to relive some of that, it's wonderful, and the song does it to you.
I do associate On Wisconsin with my dream of playing here. It just, when I was a young girl in 6th, 7th grade, and then in high school, you'd come, you'd hear the song, and it helps you identify. It did. It made me want to be a Badger.
I hear them practicing on a regular basis. I hear them practicing in the morning, and I certainly can always hear the band from our back porch, and I'm always totally immersed in that experience.
People are on their feet, they're clapping, they're cheering, they're shouting, the band is playing, blaring behind you, and you're waving that flag. It's one of the greatest feelings, I think. There's nothing that can top that.
After my last home game here, and we stepped out on the field and we got to enjoy the 5th quarter with the fans, I believe that by far was my greatest experience and the greatest satisfaction I felt in hearing that and all of the other songs that Badger fans enjoy.
Our oldest son played the tuba for 4 years. He starts out as a freshman and goes to the Rose Bowl, plays the tuba in the Rose Bowl. That was probably the greatest thrill.
In the Rose Bowl, as we came out of the end zone and do our regular pregame, that's a moment I'll just never forget. It's been several years ago now, but when I think about it, I still get a chill.
And I never thought I'd live long enough to see that. It see Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. It was very emotional, very emotional.
The stadium erupted. I mean, I can still hear the roar of the crowd as it happened. And while as I played it many other times, I don't think any time really hit me as hard as it did that particular day. It had been a dream of mine since I had come here, and it had taken about 25 years for that to happen. But it was just an enormously exciting moment, and one I'll never forget.
It starts deep inside you, and you know, you get some goosebumps and some chills, and get really fired up, and sometimes as an older guy you think, geez, I think I can still do this. Let me get out there and try.
Just hearing the song keeps you young. You know, despite the gray hair or whatever, you think of college. You think of college life and all the fun that you've had. And it even goes maybe beyond the games. It just goes to your college experience and walking the campus on a fall day or a nice spring day.
I'm 60 years old, and I've probably heard it every year, all 60 years. I'd like to think I get to get 60 more, but that's probably a stretch.
The On Wisconsin song brings back, for me, you know, all the emotions of when I was an undergraduate here.
To hear that song play makes me think of just huge wins that we had, you know, and bad losses, but the teammates, the camaraderie, and just all the pride you had from playing for Wisconsin and being a part of Wisconsin athletics.
When I was on the field, I could look up and I'd see my dad. He was at every game.
My finest memory was the first time I heard it as a student at UW, when I first heard On Wisconsin. It was really a struggle for me to get to being a student at UW, and to finally hear that song and realize that I was actually a part of it, you know, what this song represented, and could say, this is my song, you know, this is where I went to school. That was probably the coolest moment that I've ever had.
The preceding program was produced by the University of Wisconsin in association with the Big Ten Network.